Well, okay, first of all, thanks everybody for joining. Really do appreciate this. So every Tuesday we have this Cyberbulls space. Today's topic is Tesla ready to launch. And what I'm referring to here is that it seems that a lot of parts and businesses and activities that Tesla's doing is starting to come together. They're starting to all peak and they're starting to scale at the same time. Not only about full self-driving that's now feature complete, it's getting close to feature complete, but you also have the Cybertruck starting to scale at this stage. It also just received actual smart summon. I'm sorry, it actually received full self-driving recently. Then you got actual Smart Summon, a fantastic feature. It's now rolled out wide. And last night, even more updates were given. You had Tesla Semi just a few weeks ago. They were at a conference, and Pepsi came out and said that it was a very, very successful launch. Of course, we've been waiting forever for that. There's 86 semis that they have, and it looks like they're about to go and buy more. And then just recently, there was a semi that's been spotted that's testing to, possibly testing its full self-driving itself. So now not only do we have full self-driving, getting more feature complete, we're now seeing it being put into all the cars. By the way, even Ashok Kalaswamy said that S and X is going to get it soon, sometime in the next quarter. Then you got the Cybertruck and you got the Semi. All of this is happening at the same time. Lots of other milestones that Tesla's hitting left, right, and center. Tesla China just announced that they hit their 1 millionth vehicles exported. They also just announced a few days ago the Tesla Megapack factory in Shanghai is now 60% complete. And just did a show today with Brian Wang, and he was pointing out that it's very likely, it's looking from the way that the designs are, the size of the factory, it's going to be 2 times the size of Lathrop. And it could even be more in terms of, how many megapacks it can produce. This comes after, just a couple of weeks ago where they announced that they had their 100 million 4680 cell. So the only thing we haven't heard of a recent update on is the bots, but everything happens to be moving and coming together. And these things kind of feed off each other. Once you've got FSD getting improved, then you can see how it flows to all the vehicles and they all get better. So that's what I wanted to just ask you guys. Is this kind of, this not only a speed, but it's just the timing, right? We've been waiting for so long for so many things. We're now about to launch a more affordable vehicle. These things are coming together at the right time. Jeff, you want to jump off? Just start us off.
Yeah, no, thanks, Robert. What I'm seeing is it looks like their software business, specifically FSD, is scaling. If you look at the rate of releases and you look at the span in terms of what they're doing, and you look at, everybody's, excited about, we got a detailed plan for September and they pretty much executed to it. We don't, call it most of the way there. We don't know where critical interventions got to, because that's kind of a Tesla internal metric. There's private or kind of amateur trackers out there. But, we don't know if that, that I guess was like 3 times improvement. We don't know if that was achieved, but man, you look at how they scaled software releases and features across multiple vehicle types, it's scaling. And what that says is actually a lot about it says a lot about Tesla's, first off, their software capability, but their network infrastructure capability. This is training done not on the new bigger clusters yet either. This is the stuff, they got a while ago and they're doing in California. And this isn't even the big stuff that they've recently purchased. And then it's not the new stuff that's coming up from NVIDIA with Blackwell and then, Dojo 2 and so forth. So we're just at the beginning of it. We're already seeing, like, what other auto company, has full self-driving on city streets and highways, across, now I guess all their vehicle types. So that to me, that scale is impressive. It tells me that this going from heuristics, going to, end-to-end neural nets, and Tesla's approach to doing it, it looks like they've gained a bit of efficiency. I think the question is, are we getting the rate of improvement in terms of the performance of it that we want. I will tell you, like my first drive in a Cybertruck with full self-driving was way better than my first drive on version 12 on my other vehicles. And, you know, that in itself is very starting point. Cybertruck is literally better than the endpoint on the other vehicles right now. And it tells me that there's an ability to scale there on the software side. And then, of course, I could talk forever about what they're planning to do on the vehicle hardware side, which we'll probably talk more about in a bit. And Tesla returning to scale on the hardware side with going back to 50% growth and putting that capacity in for 2025. I'll pause there.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, I guess my point is that it's everything's happening to scaling. Everything's starting to happen. Yeah, you can't hear me?
Yep.
I can hear you, Herbert.
Yeah,
I can hear both Jeff and Herbert. Hey,
okay, good. So
I'll drop down. I can't hear Herbert.
Yeah, my point is that everything's happening at the same time, and they're all happening, right? It's just we've been waiting for this moment for each of these businesses, and they all seem to be happening, right? We were waiting at one point for energy to finally show up on the balance, in the financials, and it's now showing up significantly. I heard today that by next year, it's going to be around 13% of revenue, or a couple of years from now, it could be 13, 15% of our revenue at that point. So, Simon, I want to ask you, not only are we seeing all this traction is happening, but so are the institutionals. You got Dan Ives. Obviously, he's always been a bull, but he's been saying now that he thinks that AI and FSD could represent $1 trillion of value for Tesla in the coming years. You got Tom Narayan of RBC coming out saying that it's a funny thing he said today. The interview was he actually thinks that Tesla is the place for investors that they can find safety, right? It's a safe investment because all the other automakers are struggling and they're just one after another doing profit warnings. Then you got Morgan Stanley talking about had dropped 2 notes about Tesla, talking about, the Muskonomy and how they're all going to help each other. They came up with this thing called the DREAMS framework: data, robots, energy, AI, manufacturing, and space, and how all of that is just going to accelerate and come together. And then they're even themselves dreaming with their second note, talking about Tesla might get into drones and flying cars. That's, they love to do these kinds of, reading breadcrumbs. But Simon, what's your thoughts about, finally these institutionals? It's like they're not only becoming a bull, now they're becoming hyper bulls. These things are starting to come together.
Thanks, Herbert. I'd say I've never seen I've never seen the institutional side as bullish as they are currently, even during the bull run of 2021. And I guess that's encouraging because you look at most big institutional investors and they're really underweight relative to the benchmark, especially, or if they own it at all in their funds. I think there's a couple of things happening. Everybody's talking AI right now, so they're going to insane. The institutional managers are going to their analysts and saying who's on the list of AI companies, and Tesla's popping up. I think it's also becoming Tesla stock is gaining traction more so because of interest rates. Tesla's really leveraged to interest rates, and that 50 beep cut and future cuts to come are really going to benefit the stock. But you have this combination. I like how you put it. You're almost at this perfect storm where they've got all of these businesses that are about to, hyperscale over the coming 24 months. And it's extremely encouraging. So I like Dan, it was Dan Ives that said, this is a low risk investment. In my opinion, it's extremely low risk because they have so many irons in the fire. They were between growth waves. And I don't think that the street is prepared, just like they weren't prepared for the rapid growth in NVIDIA. I don't think they're prepared for the numbers that are going to come over the next 36 months out of Tesla. Yeah. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, we're in between two growth waves, but actually the second growth wave is like literally a couple months away from now, or maybe 5 or 6 months away, right? the more affordable vehicles are going to make an appearance. There's going to be some sort of robotaxi sometime late next year, but this is next year. This is going to be, we don't have to wait much longer for that to happen. In the meantime, Cybertruck is scaling and all that.
I think sorry to cut you off, I think what I'm getting excited about, okay, yeah, you've got Wall Street, but like they've been promising FSD for many years. I had a conversation with a client today, and I was trying to explain to him that there's no catch up. There's no company that's going to catch up to this autonomy. I was talking to another analyst actually who just came back from San Francisco, and he was telling me that he got to take a Google or Waymo car, and he's actually a tech analyst for a firm in Montreal, and he was really impressed. I said, did you know that the intervention free, did you know that there's people behind that are shadowing these cars, and whenever the car messes up that somebody can take over remotely? Oh, I didn't know that. And so the statistics that they're publishing aren't quite accurate. He's like, oh, I didn't know that. So everybody thinks that there's so many people that think there's competition. You hear, Black on the street, saying that there's other companies that have autonomous vehicles out there, but they don't, and they don't have the data. So a client today I was speaking with, he was arguing with me or saying, well, what about BYD? BYD has lots of cars on this road. And I said, yeah, but they don't have, $1,500, $2,000 worth of sensors on the cars. And so this is, in my opinion, I think it's a missed opportunity that, people don't understand that no one else has the data. The lead in full self-driving, again, in my opinion, not investment advice, but it's done. Nobody can catch up to this real world autonomy. And then where I get excited, literally 2 years ago, I had, my first version, maybe version 11 on one of my cars. I was like one of these beta testers of full self-driving. And when I first started using it, I was blown away. Remember the days when we all had to pass a safety score? I wouldn't lend out my car because I was afraid somebody was going to screw up my safety score before I could qualify for full self-driving. And now it's like everybody has it. And when I first experienced it, I was blown away at how amazing it was, but it was horrible compared to today. And now when you get like version 12, you get this new moment of going almost like tears in your eyes, like, holy crap, I cannot believe how good this is getting. And now we start like focusing on the little aspects of, well, it didn't do this left-hand turn perfectly, or it accelerates a little bit too fast. Yeah, these are nitpicking, but oh my gosh, it's gotten so good so fast. And now with all the ass jokes out there, I know we've all heard them all. I'm playing with it with my girls this weekend, and I'm just, again, one of these like tears in the eyes going, holy crap, I cannot believe what this does, that you can summon the vehicle and it will literally come and pick you up. And so what happens when Banish comes? So you're seeing this, and the rate of improvement is no longer linear because they're not coding, it's exponential. And if you're following other AI like large language models, you'll understand that the more compute equals exponential growth, and you 10x the compute and you start getting massive improvements. And like Jeff alluded to, we don't have this compute that's coming on board. It's not even taken into consideration yet. So sorry to like dive off there, but those are the things that get me excited, not just Wall Street, because eventually that's the stuff that matters. And that's the stuff that are going to drive the numbers for Tesla, not Wall Street waking up to the fact that it's an AI play. That's kind of everybody in this forum woke up to that a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. I love it when you say these things because you've actually played with it. You're one of the portfolio managers out there that actually is testing the tool. So just this weekend, honestly, this is when they launched the version of FSD that has end-to-end network on the highways for the Cybertruck. The Cybertruck now has FSD. There was a semi spotted that was doing this. So we're pretty well near feature complete. This is a milestone. Omar, you've been obviously the person who's been playing with Cybertruck. You've owned a Cybertruck as well, and you're playing with that FSD. what is the significance of FSD being able to have almost all the features? And then I do want you to address too that the main criticism that the bears are saying right now is, yeah, sure, they knocked out all the milestones, but the one key milestone is it's going to have 3 times improved necessary interventions, and we don't think we're seeing that. That's what they're saying, right?
Well, I mean, I think we are seeing that. At least just talk to some people who are using it. People are saying, wow, I'm having 0 intervention drives for the first time. Drives that I do that I have to do over and over again that I could never handle correctly. For the first time, I saw it happen with 0 intervention. So there'll always be some hiccups with the rollout when you have a new model. Some things can change. But as they get these things smoothed out, I think it'll be pretty clear to everybody they have actually exceeded the 3x that they stated there, at least based on my measurements. So, I mean, the Cybertruck FSD is like a glass of ice water, and how, thank God. I mean, I drove just since I got it, even a few days ago, I've driven 1,000 miles. And it is so nice on this thing. It's almost even nicer than FSD on other vehicles. The end-to-end highway stack is going to solve a lot of problems for people. And it is probably the biggest source of complaints now that the city street stack has gotten so good. This just takes the city street stack and extends it onto the highway. So I drove, long distance within the city. You won't believe the moves that this thing can pull off in tight traffic. It was able to make impressive lane changes with the Cybertruck in really dense traffic, handle rural roads very well. I mean, it's just a great product that is available today. A lot of people sort of frame the discussion as, oh, well, Waymo is driverless or something like that. But here's a product where, let's say you're moving or you're hauling something for work or whatever your use case is where you need a truck. Waymo is not going to work for that. But you can now get a Cybertruck, and it's a self-driving truck. It's actually the only self-driving truck on the market. And you can go throw a bunch of stuff in the back. I was actually at IKEA when I got the software update. You can go put a bunch of stuff in the back, but you can turn on FSD and it works pretty much like any other car. So all those celebrities you see with Cybertruck, Kim Kardashian, Shaq with his 2 Cybertrucks, one in Vegas, one in Atlanta, all those other people, they're about to get an FSD update on their Cybertruck and post it to their Instagram stories with millions of followers. Millions of people all around the country are about to see driverless Teslas rolling around their parking lot if they haven't already, thanks to actually Smart Summon. More and more, this is building up to be, I feel like, kind of a viral moment for FSD.
Yeah, go ahead, Xander.
Yeah. I'll pick up on the viral moment portion and say, can you imagine if they levitate a roadster on 1010 and what kind of cascade you'll have through the internet? But
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Omar. I took my my truck out last night, and I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone on the stage owns a Cybertruck, right? Except Herbert
I don't want a Cybertruck.
and I think Robert, right? Robert doesn't own one either.
Nope.
No. So Omar, did you notice a difference between how your brain senses the turning with rear wheel steering on the Cybertruck versus all the other vehicles?
What do you mean?
So it felt like it on some of the turns, you could feel that it goes long further than before it turns left, right? Like before the wheel starts moving, it feels like it dives further because it's going to have that rear wheel steering. I was just curious if you felt the same thing, but it sounds like that's a no.
I mean, it kind of feels like it's not as well tuned for the Cybertruck as it is for some of their other vehicles. But honestly, it's a lot further ahead than I expected. They're going to need more training data for Cybertruck to get it to perform at the same level, but it's a lot better than driving manually, which I've been doing for the last 10,000 miles in my Cybertruck. I mean, it was just a godsend. I did probably, 12 hours of driving or more, 1,000 miles. And if I didn't have it, it would have sucked. This is a really great product that's available today. And it's cool that for the Foundation Series customers, they seem to be sending out early access builds to people who bought the Foundation Series. So that's a pretty cool perk in the Foundation Series that we didn't know about before.
Yeah. And my point is that, yes, we've been waiting for Cybertruck and now it's here. Number one, it's real. So is a semi. That's real. But they're both ready to scale now. Cybertruck is now gaining in terms of production per week. So yesterday, Tesla dropped a post with everything that they accomplished, a recap of the month of September. There was 20 posts, 20 things that they pointed out, right? Not only that they released actual smart summon, but things like milestones, like in Denmark, 1 in 10 cars are now an electric vehicle, that there are now more electric vehicles than petrol cars in Norway. And they rolled out hands-free frunk on Cybertruck, but it's like Lithuania, they're there now. AI roadmap, they've hit everything in there. So all these kind of big and small, but just so many things are being, milestones being hit, right? So don't you guys, is it true or not true, right? That we're finally hitting more and more milestones and it's happening faster and faster than it ever has, because every part of the business seems to be at that moment in time where now it's starting to scale. Mega Pack Factory, we talked about the semi, even the bot is now heading into the 3rd generation when that is announced later this year.
Yeah, Herbert. Yeah, I was going to say, I think that is the conversation. The conversation is something is clicking. Remember, just rewind back 60 days ago, we were getting one set of releases for one type of hardware, and we didn't know when we were going to get a hardware 3 release, and something clicked. I don't know if they figured out something from an architecture perspective. They didn't triple the size of the Tesla AI team, right, in that period of time. So something has clicked, or this stuff that they've been working on this from an architecture perspective in the background, and it's kind of all converging at the same time. Regardless, something like the rate of output of this team, the multiple models and vehicle types, the convergence of hardware 3 and 4, the convergence now of bringing Cybertruck into the fold, end to end, and these releases coming out, and they're even going from they're going from employee to early testing to broader populations even faster. Like all these things are happening faster. So it's almost like something is mashing down on the accelerator inside of Tesla in terms of their AI and their output, and we haven't even turned on these new clusters yet. So I think that's an interesting conversation of where's this acceleration coming from, and what is it like? Where is it going? And is October going to be another month? Are there surprise? I mean that to me, that to me, that's the most compelling thing. Is it seems like there's been a meaningful acceleration in the output of this portion of the business.
Now let's talk about October. So that, we covered quite a bit of all the things that was accomplished in October. So in October, tomorrow, we're going to get
You mean September? Come on. Get it together.
Oh, yeah, we've covered everything that happened. What did I say? In September. So let's talk October. Tomorrow is going to be the production and delivery numbers. And then you're going to have, of course, 1010. That's going to be obviously the big event. We're all excited about that. Then you've got the October 20, 24, something like that. You'll see the earnings. And then they promise for FSD, the two major features is unpark, park, and reverse in FSD. Then you got version 13 with 6 times improved between miles between necessary interventions. Again, when you hear that, and if it's Elon, you might go, oh, maybe it's not real. But this came from the Tesla AI team. And so I think that when they say 3 times better or 6 times better, this is the team. It's less likely that they're exaggerating. They have some data that they're tracking. What other things are we waiting for in October? What other milestones? I'm pretty sure every single day there'll be something that pops up. But what do you guys think about October?
I can't stop thinking that you said unpark and park when it's called banish. Like,
No, that's what it's called. Unpark, park, and reverse in FSD.
listen, on the like, didn't Elon post and call it banish? Why do you have to read the thingy? Use the proper
I'm just
lingo.
reading the thingy. That's what I'm doing. The Tesla AI team, they call it unpark, park, and reverse. Okay, I think this is slightly, well, I don't think this is banish. What this is FSD. When you turn on FSD and you go, I want you to unpark and then go to the destination, or I want to turn on FSD and after at the end of the arrival park. That's what I thought this was. I don't know if Omar, can you explain the difference between banish and versus unpark, park, and reverse in FSD?
Yeah, explain it to him, Omar. Come on.
So in October, and given the team hit every milestone in September, I'm inclined to think they're going to hit this much smaller list in October and more. So essentially in October, FSD will be feature complete. It'll be possible to get around town if there's no intervention without ever touching the wheel, right? If the software just performs correctly, you can summon your car, have it take you to where you want to go, have it park, then summon it again, and never actually drive it. So in October, it's going to unpark, park, and reverse. So right now, you kind of have to reverse out of the parking spot, unless it's a forward-facing parking spot before you start FSD. So FSD essentially is going to gain the ability to reverse. So if you start it from a parking spot, it'll actually pull out of the parking spot the same way you see Summon do, and then it'll start driving. And at the end, it'll be able to actually park when it finishes the drive. And if it needs to reverse in a drive, like for example, if it needs to do a 3-point turn to turn around, it'll be able to do that now. So that's going to be a major improvement, eliminating another source of interventions. Right now, if you have to reverse for whatever reason, that's going to be FSD off. Now that is even going to be gone as a reason to take over. And they're saying 6x improvement between necessary interventions with V13. This is a pretty crazy claim because by most estimates, we're somewhere around 500 to 1,000 miles between critical intervention, maybe as low as 300 if you want to be conservative. When you start to go 6x higher than that, right? And your average American is driving, 12,000 miles a year, even if someone's using FSD 100% of the time, that's going to be no more than 1,000 miles. So when you're having a critical intervention less often than the amount of mileage people drive in a month, people could be going weeks, months even, without seeing an intervention. At the same time the software is improving, you could have people start to actually experience very few interventions, or if they're using it infrequently enough, never experience an intervention again, because the software just sort of reaches that escape velocity. And I mean, we'll have to see what people actually say, try and measure it through independent testing. But if you can consistently deliver improvements, 3x improvement, 6x improvement, 5x improvement, you start to sort of reach that escape velocity, and pretty soon you'll be ready to start unsupervised testing.
And then the other features that just announced late last night was there's going to be improvements in actual Smart Summon. And one of the things that actually, sorry, I think it already was improved, which is improved public and high-speed road aborts, improved blocked camera aborts, reduced false positive collision mitigation aborts, refined dumb summon, added custom fart completion sounds. And then it says coming soon is garage integration, HomeLink and MyQ garage integration. So you can basically, I guess, summon the car, and then it can leave the garage, open the garage, leave the garage, close the garage, come to you. And then when you do banish and park it, it'll be able to do something similar like that. That's going to be incredible. And then coming soon is usage without continuous press. So just all these, I mean, our actual Smart Summon was already looking like it was working quite well. So this is kind of interesting. What do you guys think about those features?
They're bug fixes, essentially. They're working on reducing the types of errors you might see. So we kind of haven't seen Smart Summon touched much in years. It's great to see that they're actually not just shipping one update, but committed to making it better and better. We've already seen the radius expand. We've seen them work on making it succeed more. And honestly, it's a damn impressive feature for anyone who's tried it.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks for explaining what's happening with FSD version 13 coming out. Sounds like that's going to be the most important milestone. If they can hit that in October. And anything else? I mean, we've talked to death, the 1010 Robotaxi event. Is there any other major milestone that matters? P&D numbers are coming out tomorrow. Looks like that most people are thinking it's going to be 468, 470. It might be a little higher than that. None of us really care so much, right? Do you think it matters? I mean, it probably doesn't, right? Just as long as they don't, well, maybe. Let's say that they're 10,000 under the analyst. Is that going to do something to the company? If they're 20,000 over the analyst estimates, what will that do? Go ahead, Xander.
I wasn't going to answer that last question. I was going to say something different, and now I forgot because I have the question in my mind. So go ahead.
I think with GM coming out, I think they're 2% lower year on year. I think Toyota was close to 6% lower year on year. It looks like, and of course, the profit warnings, the double or triple warnings now from successive warnings from Volkswagen, Stellantis, going from 5 or 6 billion positive in cash to 5 or 6 billion negative. Like, you just had this string of basically, falling flat on their backs year on year. And it looks like the auto market is slowing down. And, if Tesla prints, I think 462 or something, I think that's 4 or 5% growth year on year. And, who knows if they do 470, maybe it's higher single digit growth. So it is an interesting kind of, and a lot of the China makers look like they did pretty well so far. So it looks like, while everybody's kind of like trashing EV and so forth, it looks like Tesla may be back into, like, you don't go from being in contraction mode to being like back in massive growth mode in one quarter. You make this transition like what they're doing right now. There's a little bit of growth, and then maybe there's a little bit more growth. Let's see what they say about Q4 and what they're seeing. And obviously this is not coming at zero cost. They're doing the incentive plans very similar to the incentive plans that are being done by other auto manufacturers, but they have, financing arms. They have different ways and methods to how to reflect it in their financials. But in terms of like Herbert, like if they deliver, whatever, 470 versus 460, I think there's just a lot of people looking ahead to 1010 and what's going to be announced there, and what kind of transition is this for the company? And then what they may do is, once we have 1010, they may look back at deliveries and say, okay, well, deliveries did this and 1010 did this. And all of a sudden you may start seeing some cumulative effect, but on its own, like plus or minus 10K, I don't think it's the end of, 10 or 15 or even 20K, I don't think it's the end of the world. I do think that people that predict deliveries are becoming more, and it's becoming more and more of a difficult job to do. And so you may see some higher variance.
Great. Perfect answer. Probably don't need to spend too much more time on that one. So obviously full self-driving is the thing. And the October 13th, or sort of the version 13 is the most important thing. What about the end-to-end network and being able to go highway? That should be rolled out. I think Ashok said that that's first going to go to Cybertruck, and then it's going to be rolled out next week. Is what he was saying to employees, and maybe more wider. Then the Tesla Semi was spotted testing and calibrating for full self-driving. How long does it take before, could it take like a year? Could it take 6 months? Could it take 3 months? Could it take just one more month when you see a Semi like that, and then them saying, we're going to roll out FSD for a Semi to beta test that? What's your guesses?
Well, Herbert, they have to scale the Semi business. So I think that is the highest order bit in Semi. Of course, it's exciting if a gigantic, semi truck is being autonomously driven. But I think the higher order bit with Semi is getting a factory to build them at scale profitably. And then, FSD will be there, and it'll be another major differentiating factor, significant differentiating factor, because it changes the business model.
No, I like that answer. It's a great answer. It's probably the right answer. But it's just that, then why are they testing FSD now? Like, remember when we started to spot FSD on the revised the Model 3, the Highland, and it was still being covered and hidden. They were trying to make sure you don't see what it looks like, but they were testing it because it was about to be rolled out in 3 months. They don't do this. Why are they testing it if they're not planning to roll it out, even though we have small numbers, right? Xander put it down. Okay, I thought it was a good argument, but okay. Omar, you want to break the tie here? I don't know. Jeff, you get a perfect answer.
If I had a mice nuts emoji, I would put that mice nuts emoji up right
okay.
now.
So
it's important. I mean, it's a technological feat.
Yeah. You
for
can't
sure. There's no question about it. It's just like, they got to build. The Semi discussion is, how do we build more semis profitably quicker? Like, we know what they've been doing the last couple of years, which is getting the fleet operation up, which is getting the data, which is, this is the stuff you do before you scale. So I think it's taken longer than maybe they thought and people thought, but I think the end product is going to be that much better as a result. We're saying the same thing, obviously, but you cannot call robo trucking mice nuts. It's massive. Today, but in the future, definitely not.
As someone who has a Semi reservation, small flex, like, to me, platooning is such a game changer. Like, to think about trucks being able to do what trains do, it's game over.
Yeah, and that's why, see, the way I asked the question was talking about this Semi that was spotted. At the same time, I brought up that end-to-end network is being rolled out. It's currently in Cybertruck. It's going to be rolled out to wider by next month. So imagine if you actually have, and highways are more important for semi-trucks. So yeah, I mean, this could be a year out. I'm not trying to say it's going to happen soon. I just think it's interesting how these things are coming together, right? All these little things we're finding. Yeah, absolutely.
Certainly would make driving over the Sierra between Reno and Fremont a lot easier, delivering batteries to the Fremont factory.
Hey, Robert, I mean, you are one of the earliest people that we're talking about for, of course, FSD. Honestly, you might have been talking about it before Omar. you're much older. You're much older than Omar.
I had the first ride in the Mercedes-Benz autonomous car, so I've been covering this for this.
Yeah, we used to do quite a number of spaces last year, and you were talking about how all the videos are captured. It's just at the time Tesla didn't have all these, the compute that they can do. Tell me what, again, for people who's been following Tesla for so long, right? You were there since the very first Tesla ever made, right? You drove the first Tesla.
Yeah.
Do you agree with the premise of the show, the space here, which is it's not just that things are moving, progressing fast. It's that there's this intersection between every department that's going to now make the, Tesla ready to just launch, go crazy.
Agree. The robotaxi event is going to greatly increase the awareness of FSD, and I think that's going to lead to a bunch of sales. I'm seeing that in my personal group. Even people who have Teslas really don't know how good FSD has become if they don't have FSD on their Tesla, right? And so as more and more people, give their friends rides, and more people, become aware of how good FSD is, the take-up rate on future vehicles sold is going to go up. It's quite evident to me. How much it goes up, we can argue a little bit, but I think it's going to be a big deal. I'm looking forward to seeing Optimus. I think that's really going to show us what the potential of Tesla's future is going to be, and how fast it is learning, and or how fast it's going to be a contributor to the Tesla family. And I'm really excited about seeing Optimus.
Yeah, them calling it We Robot is very likely now. Go ahead, Simon.
Well, a humanoid robot and robotaxi or cybercab goes together like peanut butter and jelly. Hey, Optimus, I need my luggage loaded in my car before I go to the airport, right? Having a humanoid is going to greatly increase the amount of work we can do with our vehicles. Because if you had a Optimus and you had a cab, you could send your Tesla to a grocery store and have your Optimus go pick up your groceries, or pick up your laundry, or pick up whatever. Go get me a screwdriver at a Home Depot, right? Those are things I can't do with transportation today, with some exceptions. I mean, I can certainly order stuff and have it delivered, but not in a holistic way across society, which is quite interesting to think about.
Regarding, I was going to say is regarding Robert, you mentioned something about the take rate of FSD and how it's going to improve, and Jeff mentioned, the fact that all these, and this occurred to me as well. It was the amount of superstars that are driving Cybertrucks, and they probably would never have taken FSD or known about it. It wasn't and the fact, I think it was actually brilliant that they offered these foundation series and they automatically came with Cybertruck, and they had to have known that influencers were all going to take this vehicle and start demoing it and putting in rap videos and going to Starbucks and whatnot. And now they're all about to get this FSD, which people in this space, we're all familiar with it. We think it's pretty common knowledge. Everybody in this space is already talking about the bot, which the average person on Bay Street has no idea what that is. And it's interesting because I go to the country once a week with my family, and I'm driving, my Tesla through a Costco parking lot in Saint Jerome, Quebec. And, the Falcon Wing doors will open up and people come by and they say, what kind of car is that? And I'm stunned that how do you not know that this is a Tesla? I say, it's Tesla. What brand? I said, a Tesla. And they're like, well, what is it? It must be an electric car. And I said, yeah, it is. And I think that people would be surprised at how many folks, in middle America and all over, really have no idea what Tesla is, what they're capable of. And the fact that all these influencers are now driving Cybertrucks is a big deal, obviously, which we all agree with. But once this FSD rolls out, and it is, I think that's going to have a huge impact for the take rate. People are going to want to come and say, I want a car that can drive itself. Show me this. And they'll get into the car. I talked to a Tesla sales rep a couple of weeks ago, and they said most of the people that are coming in inquiring about buying a Tesla and having the FSD are elderly people. I couldn't believe it. Thought it'd be young people. They said, no, they don't want to drive anymore. They read about this. They said, hey, I can have a car that can drive itself. Excellent. I want to see it. Let me buy one. So I don't think that this is fully appreciated, the fact that we're going to have all these influencers that are now showing or demonstrating the Cybertruck, its capabilities, but also illustrating or starting to show off the full self-driving capabilities, which people just aren't aware of this yet.
Like a best Trojan horse for FSD that you could imagine.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.